So with that, I would like to, with Joe's indulgence, bring up newly elected County Supervisor Jeff Hewitt from Riverside County, California, to say whatever it is he wants to say.
Whatever it is Boomer wants him to say.
And his chief of staff, hopefully.
Every successful politician has a handler. I now have several. My original handler was my wife. I now have several wives.
Hey, wait, we're in Utah. Bigwater was a polygamous hotspot.
One more bad joke. She has to cover her ears.
Cover your ears.
The art of communication is really a strange art. Years ago, when I was digging all these pools, thousands and thousands of pools, I had mostly Hispanic workers, and I was pretty confident in my own Spanish. And it was high stress day, we were behind, we had 5 jobs going, and I came to this one crew and I looked at it and looked at the plan, and I could see that they laid the pool out way too small. So I was furious. It was an easy layout and they made it too small. We went from a 1/8 inch scale to a full scale, and I started yelling at them. I said, ¿Qué está haciendo? Esta verga es demasiado pequeña. Necesito hacer más grande. I was thinking that I was saying, this pool is too small. We have to make it bigger. You see, the word for pool in Spanish is alberca. The word for the male organ is verga. And in my haste, because I was so mad, I was sitting there telling them, your is too small and you need to make it bigger. And the more they laughed at me, the more infuriated I got, and the more I told them to make their bigger. Eventually, one of the crew leaders came over, took me aside, explained it to me, and then I laughed. But from that day on, I called, there is fortunately another word in Spanish for pool, and it's piscina. So I went with piscina from then on. I think we as libertarians do that a lot. We don't necessarily do it in Spanish. We do it in English. What do people want? People want to be respected. They want politicians that reflect their values. They want them to go out and work hard for them. They don't want them to create pixie dust or perform miracles. They don't want that. They just want us to be honest, hard workers. And people say that all these studies show that as many as 30% of the people in the United States are libertarians. I would venture to guess that when really get down to it and do some real objective polling, as many as 60 or 70% are. So why are we where we're at today? I'll tell you one thing. Can someone who's in a nonpartisan office, who's a real libertarian, whose goal is to attain less government and more personal freedom, are they just as effective as someone who runs in an office that they've been branded a libertarian? As far as governing, they're just as effective. As far as attracting other people to the party, they're not. So we've got 2 fronts to work on. We're still a very, very small party. We are comprised of about 1% of the registered voters. We got as many as 3% in our last presidential election when both other parties had horrible candidates. The candidates like Bethany, right up here, showed that the latter can happen. We're there. What she does, it's a technicality. She didn't show the libertarian. We know a libertarian can win with that L behind her. But it's in a race where we know we can get the message out. In my race, I'm getting a little bit of secondary because the papers are, and having luminaries like Nick come out there and swear me in instead of just a regular judge. Oh, and by the way,
What the hell is Judge Gray? I'm just
well, he's in Hawaii, but listen, hey, I'll tell you what. The judge, the other two members that got sworn in, both had judges, and the judge told him, because I made a joke, I said, oh, I only have a lawyer, and she basically said, oh, he'll be a judge. We can get all kinds of press. What we want is we want positive press that show we're effective. We don't want to lose our edge. We already have the edge. We've got the best radicals. We've got the best ideas. We've got the most colorful people. Can you say Star Child? I mean, we have...
Outshine Star Child.
Well, I'm saving Willie for the end.
Contest.
I'm
But putting my money here.
But the point I'm saying is that we've got this all in our hands. And as a libertarian for all my life, as an adult, I decided to get involved in the party about 5 years ago when I ran for an office that was partisan. And even though I only got 6.4% of the vote in running for a state legislative office, and I raised $18,000, which is a lot for a libertarian, but it's not anywhere close to beating someone that has $400,000 in one of the major parties. I learned that this was my party. And I watched and I watched and I watched, and I was tired of not having the ability to change policy. Because I had been elected for like 3 years at that time in a city council, and I knew how much power elected people have. But I also knew that this is a marathon, not a sprint. Between my planning commission and my time on a city council, this is a 14-year journey. And sometimes it's best just to be quiet and listen. Sometimes it's just listen to your colleagues. Find out which ones are crazy and which ones are kind of, you might make a connection with. And build up a relationship. And pretty soon, they will all commit political suicide, go against Big Fire, and pull off something that no other elected in my entire region thought was possible. Now that I'm in a very, very powerful political position, I've got an advantage on everybody else. First of all the other supervisors endorsed my opponent. So I don't have any favorites. And another thing, almost none of them know what a libertarian is. So they don't know what to expect. But I got to tell you this. Now this is the best thing I heard. My oldest daughter's best friend is very high up in HR in the county that I have become a supervisor for. 22,000 employees. It's a big county. And she said that after it was certified, we had 2 new county supervisors. There was a woman named Karen Spiegel that had been the mayor of Corona, a city of about 200,000 people. And they said, oh, Karen, she's been mayor for several years. She's been on the council for 22 years. And she's a Republican, and she's conservative. And then they said, and then there's Jeff Hewitt. He's a libertarian. And the National Party is backing him. And he has higher aspirations. It was hilarious. If they knew how small we are. But remember, in politics, perception is everything. So we're going to get a lot of mileage out of this, but what I'm going to promise to do, not only for the party, but certainly the most important, the constituents that elected me, is to try to bring libertarian values and try to persuade my fellow board members that these values really do serve their constituents best. And over the next 4 years, if I can move the needle a little bit, if I can inspire other people to say, hey, come on over, that's all right, we'll give you a hand. And if you really, really, really need a hand, we'll loan you Boomer Shannon. Because Boomer Shannon, if he can get me elected, and he's having, there's Republicans and Democrats alike that are highly elected right now, and they're worried about their reelection, and they're asking if they can borrow Boomer. That's the case of it. Political success depends on really one thing. And that one thing is derived from me after digging thousands and thousands of swimming pools, of which each one I moved between 100 and 300 ton of dirt from somebody's backyard to somewhere else. And not one of those got done by themselves. Not one of those yards moved because I was a libertarian. They all moved by hard sweat and work. And don't ever, ever think that you're going to go out there and go, I don't want them to think I'm desperate or something. No, when you're running for office, you're desperate for votes. They want you to get out there, press their flesh, say something to them, be out there, say, here's what I'm about, and here's why I'm going to make your lives better. And at the end of the day, when they go and they go, oh shit, the guy tried. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. If you go ahead and line up and then get a guy like Boomer on there, and then with that, money. For every voter, you need a donor. And talk about it. Find a race that you know what it's going to take. What historically has to be raised? Is it a partisan one? She can win partisan races if they're a certain size. Pick those races, get experience, because watch out, you might get elected. And that's when the hard work begins. So with that, I would hope that everybody here in Utah, you got a great state. You got one of the most libertarian states of all. I've got doubts on the new logo. No.
You're not alone.
Yeah. Sorry, Justin. No, but this party deserves to start winning. They really do. We are the best people. We're the ones that get it. We're the ones that have been ridiculed. It's time that we take over the world and start letting people live their own lives. Thank you.